Hello, Internet. It is I, Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. Today, we're going to be talking about Captain America Brave New World. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. So, let's get to it. Pros. This is the latest MCU flick. This is the 35th MCU flick, by the way. Yes, they've made that. They've made that many movies. Um, so obviously in recent times, there's a lot of negativity going on with the MCU, and don't you worry, I will get to that later in this video when we get to the cons. Like, there's a lot to talk about there. But first, I gotta talk about the positives of the MCU, and the positive is that this is the biggest franchise ever, bar none. I mean, it's made like $30 billion across all these movies. Decent amount of these movies making $1 billion like each. Like Avengers, Iron Man 3, Avengers Age of Ultron, Civil War, Black Panther, Infinity War, Captain Marvel, Endgame, which was the highest grossing movie of all time for a brief period. Far From Home, No Way Home, and then last year you got Deadpool and Wolverine. And then they have quite a few number of movies that made like 700, 800, 900 mil, like Guardians 3, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Thor Love and Thunder, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Let's see. Yeah, Thor Ragnarok, Spider-Man Homecoming, Guardians 2, first Guardians of the Galaxy, Winter Soldier. So yeah, shit ton of success, to say the least. And a good amount of these movies have been well received, and a lot of these movies have really helped raise the stock of a number of characters that were like C D tier characters before their big screen like debuts. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, no one knew who they were before that first movie came out, but when that first movie came out, changed everything. And now everyone knows who Star Lord, Gamora, Drax, Rocket, Groot. Everyone knows who they are now. Same goes for Iron Man. Iron Man was like C tier, but thanks to that first Iron Man movie and subsequent movies, he became the face of the whole brand and basically the face of Marvel besides Spider-Man. So, yeah, the MCU has done a lot for certain characters. It's done a lot for movie theaters. It's done a lot for the box office. So yeah, all of that is a pro. So that's pro number one. Pro number two. So this is technically the fourth entry in the Captain America series. So it's the second series to have like a fourth. Well, I guess third if you want to count Avengers. When it comes to like solo movies, it's the second because Thor was the first, but Captain America is the second. And the previous three movies, well, that was Steve Rogers' Captain America, while Brave New World is Sam Wilson's Captain America. So it's a difference there, but still the same name. So like that first Captain America movie back in 2011, it did solid. It didn't do amazing, but it did decent enough. But that was back when like Cap was kind of considered to be like a boring character by the public. So they had to make some changes with the next movie, Winter Soldier, and those changes were very beneficial because that movie did way better than the first. And then you have Captain America Civil War, which, okay, I know it's called Captain America Civil War, but I don't consider it a Captain America movie. I think saying that is incorrect because in my eyes, it's Avengers 2.5. It just is. I mean, come on. I mean, like the whole premise is that it's Captain America versus Iron Man. You have all these Avengers in the movie, like Black Widow, Vision, Scarlet Witch, Bucky's there, and then you have the introductions like Black Panther and Spider-Man. Like it's an Avengers movie without it being called an Avengers movie. I mean, that's what it was. So calling it a Captain America movie, it doesn't feel right. So, but gotta talk about it anyway. Obviously, that movie did way better than Winter Soldier because of the Avengers connection, the direct Avengers connection. And now we're here in 2025 with Brave New World. Well, I guess I can mention how there was the Falcon Winter Soldier show, the miniseries that came out in 2021, which showed how Sam Wilson like really became the new Captain America after Steve Rogers. If you saw Endgame, you know what happens with him. He grew old, basically an old man. He aged naturally, and he gave the shield to Sam, which then resulted in the show, and then now we're here with this movie. But yeah, the Captain America, like, I guess the brand is a lot stronger than it was, like, when it first started. And there's a lot of success with those previous Captain America movies, so I would label that as a pro. Although it doesn't really, I'm not sure if it really applies because this is basically a reboot. It's like a different character with like the same mantle. So it's kind of like, say, with the Spider-Verse movies, how you have Miles Morales as Spider-Man instead of like Peter Parker. But hey, I mean, people, are very much willing to watch a Spider-Man movie where Peter Parker's not the main Spider-Man, judging by the box office for the Spider-Verse movie. So people can watch those, then theoretically they can watch a Captain America movie where Captain America is not Steve Rogers. Theoretically. So, yeah, but still, the Captain America brand, I'll label that as a pro. Another pro is that when it comes to competition, this movie really doesn't have anything to deal with. I mean, there hasn't been a blockbuster in the market since like December with like Sonic 3 and Mufasa. It's been no like tentpole movie since then. So there's kind of been I guess a demand for like a big movie, like a blockbuster-esque movie, and this is definitely that. So yeah, not to mention, I mean, the only thing this movie really has to worry about this weekend is like Paddington 3, and yeah, no. Those two movies, that is not direct competition for this. And everything else is just, dead at this point, or just not direct competition. So, and there won't be like any big movies coming out till, I guess there's Mickey 17, but I'm not too sure about that one. I'm not too sure about Novocaine either. There's Snow White, I guess. But I know the next superhero movie will be Thunderbolts, but that's in May. So it'll be a minute before we have another like big blockbuster movie on the schedule. So I would label that as a pro for this thing. So there's that. Another pro. Thursday previews aren't terrible by any means. I mean, $12 million. I mean, compared to other MCU movies, it's not great. It's not like at the highest high. Although I got like figure out how to get to the rest. I mean, compared to like the last MCU movie, Deadpool Wolverine, doesn't hold a candle to that. I mean, that had a 38.5 million preview number. But granted, Deadpool Wolverine is a whole different animal compared to Brave New World. But it is much better than the Marvels. It is far superior than that. That opened like 6.6 million. That was like an undisputed low for the whole brand. So the fact that 12 million is far greater than 6.6, so that pretty much guarantees Brave New World won't be a Marvel's-esque catastrophe. They'll avoid that fate. But yeah, but still 12 million. I haven't seen a preview number like that since Moana 2. I think that was like 13 million back in November, and I think Wicked was like 19 million, although that had like two different numbers like several different numbers like attached to it, which like boosted it, boosted it up. But yeah, um, yeah, these preview numbers, sure, they're nowhere near like the best for a Marvel movie, but they're way better than anything that's come out in recent memory. So yeah, I mean, actually, I'm trying to think of another movie I can compare this to recent times. I mean, there's Venom: The Last Dance. That was pretty recent. That had a Thursday preview of 8.5 million, so this is definitely superior to that. I could compare this to Winter Soldier, but that movie came out so long ago that just feels, I don't know if it really works. But I guess I can mention it because this and Brave New World, like Brave New World is trying to be like Winter Soldier in a way, more grounded take for like an MCU movie. That opened like 10.2 million, but that was a much different time for like Marvel compared to 2025. So Marvel. So yeah, I don't know if that's like a really good comparison, but it's a comparison I can make. But there's also the fact that Brave New World's preview numbers are worse than Ant-Man 3, which came out the same weekend like 2 years ago. So that's another comparison I can use. That was 17.5 million. So yeah, I mean, Brave New World, its preview numbers are not great for MCU standards, but for like regular blockbuster standards, they're not, the worst. So I guess that's a very minor pro. Another pro, an actual big pro, is that this weekend is a double holiday because Friday was Valentine's Day, and then this upcoming Monday is President's Day. And when you have like a double holiday weekend like this, that can be extremely lucrative, especially Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is one of the most lucrative days of the year for the box office. It's one of those, high tide raises all boats type holidays where every movie benefits from the day, even if it's not even a romantic themed movie. Like all movies benefit from Valentine's Day, and Valentine's Day being like on a Friday on a weekend is even better. So yeah, that double holiday of Valentine's Day and President's Day, both of them, I will label that as a a pro. My bad, a big old pro. So yeah, but there is a negative to Valentine's Day that I will explain a little later. Okay, cons. Oh boy. All right. So review wise, Brave New World, it's not good. It is exactly a 50% critic score. That is one of the worst out of all the MCU movies. It is near the bottom. I don't know which MCU movies. I'm pretty sure it's scored higher than like the Marvels and Eternals, but not by much. I might need to check. Eternals. How did that do? 47%. Okay, the Marvels. What was the score for that? 62%. So it actually scored worse than the Marvels. That's an oof. Ant-Man 3. How did that do? Let's see. 46%. So I don't. Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah, this movie has scored higher than only Ant-Man 3 and Eternals. That's a yikes. That's a big old yikes. And it's a huge step down from the other Captain America movies. So that's a really bad sign. Its audience score isn't as bad. It's like a 79%, but that's still not like ideal. Ideally, you want like a 90 plus percent. I mean, like, how did Deadpool and Wolverine do? I'm curious. What was the audience score for that? 94%. Like that's what you want for something like this. So 79% is not great. It's not ideal. But what's even worse is its cinema score. This is what is really going to kill this movie. It got a B minus. Yeah, a B minus. I mean, that is worse than. That is actually the worst cinema score ever for a Marvel movie. That's worse than Ant-Man 3. That's worse than the Marvels. That's worse than all of them. So, yeah. And like a B minus is like a terrible score to get for like a big blockbuster movie because these type of movies, ideally should be, crowd pleasing. If the crowd's not pleased, then that spells death. That spells absolute doom for something like this. I mean, for comparison, like The Flash from DC, that got a B cinema score, and that ended up being a big old bomb, a big old catastrophe. Although Venom: The Last Dance got a similar B minus score, but its legs weren't too bad. So maybe this movie won't utterly collapse, but in the case of like some other movies, I feel like that B cinema score is going to like just drag it all the way down. So yeah, lackluster reviews, really lackluster audience reactions. That's a huge con. That's a big old con. So that's con number one. Con number two, the MCU as a whole. Okay, I talked about all the success stories, but that was in the past. Frankly, it feels like the distant past because things have changed in the last few years and not for the better, to say the least. So, yeah, I mean, like from Iron Man to Far From Home, things were golden. Absolutely golden. I mean, some movies did better than others. Some movies were reviewed better than others, but still, it was like it was just hit after hit after hit after hit. The MCU brand felt untouchable. Then COVID happened and things started to change. Black Widow came out. I'm not gonna be too harsh towards it because it was a part of like the Disney Plus Premier Access thing where it was in theaters and on Disney Plus at the same time for like $30. Obviously, that was gonna cut into its box office. So, and plus, it came out like at a time where movie theaters were trying to like rebuild and come back from being shuttered for like a year. So yeah, I'm not gonna be too harsh for his Black Widow. Shang-Chi, Eternals, they have slightly less excuses, but still, we're still in like the rebuilding phase. Then No Way Home came out, and that blew everything out of the water. That proved that blockbuster movies were very much not dead, and billion-dollar movies certainly weren't dead. And then Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, that movie should have made more money, but it wasn't received all that great by a lot of people, actually. Thor: Love and Thunder was received even worse, even though it still made money. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever was received better, but I'd argue it still should have performed a little better. The Ant-Man 3, everybody hated this movie. I hated it too. And it was a flop, a certified bust. Guardians 3 did fine. It should have done better, but it did fine. But then the Marvels, good God, man. My lowest expectations for this movie were nowhere near as low as what ended up happening. Like They didn't even make like 200 million at the box office, like worldwide. I mean, fuck. Look at like it's the worst performing one out of all of these. I mean, look at this domestic run. 84 million. Let's count how many movies made more in 3 days than the Marvels made total. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, 16 with Doctor Strange. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So literally more than half of the MCU made more in 3 days than the Marvels made total. That should say a whole lot right there. Deadpool Wolverine was a smash hit, but everyone knew it would be a smash hit because it didn't have to deal with all the problems other MCU movies had to face. It was kind of in its own bubble, so it was able to, thrive. But Captain America: Brave New World doesn't have that advantage. Like it doesn't at all. It's just like another, Marvel movie. It didn't feel like this special attraction, like this special event, like Deadpool Wolverine was, or like Spider-Man: No Way Home was, with the multiverse aspect, having like different Spider-Men in the movie. Captain America: Brave New World doesn't have. What does it have? Red Hulk? Like, is that it? That's pretty much it. So, yeah, the MCU, and I didn't even mention the shows. God, like those shows have done so much damage to the brand because all they've done is just dilute the brand and make things more confusing for fans and like people and newcomers. Like, God forbid someone wants to join the MCU now. Like, it's gonna be a nightmare getting through all those movies and shows. And a lot of the shows weren't even that well received. Like, WandaVision was well received to a point. Falcon Winter Soldier, kind of in the same boat. Loki in the same boat. I don't remember anyone ever talking about Hawkeye. Moon Knight, I think, was received okay. Secret Invasion was a disaster. I know that one. But yeah, it's been a mess. An absolute fucking mess. And at the very least, they're like slowing down on like the, all the shows on Disney Plus when it comes to the MCU. So I mean, that's a blessing. But it doesn't help that this is directly linked to a show that's 4 years old. By the way, like who's gonna remember? Who even remembers like all the details of Falcon Winter Soldier at this point? I doubt too many people do, because Disney made the fatal error of assuming that everyone who watches the movies is going to watch the shows and vice versa. That has not been the case. The Marvels prove that is not the case at all, because that movie had to deal with the issue of being connected to other Disney Plus shows, some no one really cared about or even watched. And here we are doing it again. So yeah, the MCU is it's in shambles. It's an absolute mess. I don't see it getting better unless there's a hard reboot. So, yeah. The MCU's current reputation right now, I will label that as a massive con. Let's see. Trying to think of some other cons. Oh, yeah. Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is a bit of a double-edged sword. I say this because, like, on the positive, it could really boost a movie's box office for that day. I imagine it will boost this movie's box office too, where it's like Thursday preview to Friday multiply will be higher than like the average MCU flick. At least a little higher than like the modern MCU flick. But then you have to think about what happens after Valentine's Day. Usually the box office, there's a crash that happens. Like all like that artificial boost from Valentine's Day, like that on the 15th, that's gone. That doesn't exist anymore. And so a lot of movies tend to like, you know, fall off the next day. And then like the next week, like in this case, next Friday, that's gonna be ugly for most of these movies are gonna have some ugly ass drop offs, and this movie will be no exception. And I wouldn't be surprised if this had like a 70 plus drop, considering post holiday and word of mouth. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. So yeah, post Valentine's Day and all the negative, all the negatives that come with that. That's a con. And I think that's it with cons. I think I mentioned like all the main things: reviews, word of mouth, the state of the MCU, the negatives of Valentine's Day. Pretty sure that's it. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else besides that. So, opening weekend. Okay, we gotta do 3 day and 4 day because it's a holiday. 3 day is projected to hit 80 something mil. Let me see. Let me see. I'm on Deadline right now. Let me see. Yes. It's projected to hit 82 to 84 million for the 3 day, and its 4 day will be like 90 plus. I see it hitting that, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was more front loaded, if word of mouth like really really goes into effect like the next day. So, but I guess I'll go with 80 million 3 day and 90 million 4 day. Its total, I see this being front loaded as all hell. I don't know if it'll be as bad as the Marvels, but I feel it will be very bad. I think 200 million is a massive stretch. I don't see it reaching that. Okay, I'm gonna have a range: 150 to 170 final total. That's where I see it hitting, which would not be very good, for this movie. But yeah, so, but it will have like the biggest opening for 2025, at least for a while. So it's got that to look forward to. But yeah, this is looking like another oof from Marvel. So yeah. So that was Captain America: Brave New World. Okay, some of these other movies, I'm only doing Paddington, Peru, and that's it. I'm not doing the rest because like this Niza 2. I know it's like an enormous movie in China. It made like over $1 billion in China. Literally, the only movie like to have like $1 billion from just like one country. That hasn't even happened in the States. But yeah, I'm not gonna cover that because like, how can I even cover it? Armand, I'm not covering that either because it's not even a wide release technically. And becoming Led Zeppelin, I don't know how many theaters that's in. I've heard it's a wide release, but I don't know, so I'm not gonna risk it. So I'm just gonna leave that alone. I'm only gonna do Paddington, Peru. I will mention these movies when I make my February recap video, but prediction videos, no. I'm only gonna do Paddington, Peru, and then that'll be it for the weekend. Okay, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, so that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. You want to check out more videos like this? I got playlists on the homepage. All previous gameplay videos I've done on the channel. I've done all types of games, different eras, genres, consoles, series, you name it. Let's see. Shoot. I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, box office. Box office predictions. You want to watch all my other 2025 box office prediction videos, as well as videos I made over the past few years. You can go right ahead. There's also the canceled series where I went over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. I've covered Captain America: Brave New World several times. Let me see. I believe I've covered it twice. The first time, this was back when it was called New World Order. First time was episode 142. That's when Blade got at the time. Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four wasn't called First Steps yet, and Avengers 5 and 6, which 5 was originally Kang Dynasty, when all of them got release dates. So that was then. I think this was 2022. Yeah, so this is a very different time. This is before shit hit the fan with Ant-Man 3 and then Jonathan Majors and all of his legal troubles. Yeah, this is before all that shit happened. And then the second time I talked about it was episode 216, where I talked about Deadpool 3, Thunderbolt, Blade, and Mufasa the Lion King. You know, all of them being like pushed back. So yeah, but I don't. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I didn't cover Captain America: Brave New World after that. So those are the two times I talked about Captain America 4. So if you want to watch you want to watch those cancel episodes or any other ones I've done on the channel, you can go right ahead. There's also box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. January recap. I'm thinking about just doing it Saturday. I feel like that'd be a good time to do it. I'm not really doing much anything else, so might as well. So yeah, the January recap, that will be, well, I guess technically later today. And then February recap, that will be between the 7th and the 14th, maybe probably more like the 15th. Yeah, because I feel like doing these over the weekend is just better. But, you know, we'll see. But it'll be soon. It'll be within like the first 2 weeks of March. So stay tuned for that as well. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos I made on the channel, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.